Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time of day it is where you live. My name is Jerry Sherstead, and I'm the CEO of Sumo Lab. We're a business marketing consultancy located in Chandler, Arizona. And welcome to the Jerry Rig Business Podcast, Business Marketing Podcast, that is. And today we're going to get into something that actually is a little bit near and dear to my heart. Over the years, working with different companies, there's been this kind of consistent battle between marketing and sales, marketing and sales departments. So today we have a guest today, and her name is Natalie Furness. And Natalie is the owner of a company called RevOps Automated. She's going to talk to us about how the sales and marketing teams can get along, how they can work together with this process, this concept called RevOps or revenue operations. And I'm a little bit old school, so I don't remember that from back in the day, but we're going to jump into it and find out how business marketing departments and sales departments can get along, right? So that's real important stuff. So we'll be right back.
Yeah.
This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast, your no-nonsense knowledge base for business technology, marketing, and analytics. And now your host, Jerry Sherstead.
So ever wonder why your sales and marketing departments can't seem to get along? It's because they have kind of competing functions, one would think. But that doesn't mean they can't work together as a team, and we're going to solve that problem today. Our guest today, our guest speaker, is Natalie Furness, and we're going to bring her out and talk to her. Hey, Natalie, what's going on?
Hey, Jerry. I'm good. Yeah, it's lovely to be here all the way from the UK.
Cool. That's awesome. So we're going to talk about revenue operations, also known as RevOps. Your company is called RevOps Automated. And you are the founder and CEO, which is really cool. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, RevOps Automated. We are a revenue operations consultancy and managed service provider that works with startups, scale-ups, and enterprises to improve the go-to-market operations for businesses. Now, what that means in layman's terms is that we make it easier for marketers to market, sales to sell, product-led growth to generate revenue. And it's all about generating revenue with less effort for marketing and sales teams. So we're really the bridge between the departments.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, so how, one of the things that kind of struck me was you're in a smaller organization, let's say, and you have, 10 employees, or you have 20 or 30 employees, and you're doing less than, let's say, 3 to 5 million a year. Does revenue operations play a role?
Yeah, revenue operations exists in businesses whether you know it or not. Revenue operations is the alignment of people, processes, data systems, leveraging technology to enable growth. So probably if you're a marketer, you're doing some of this role now, whether you know it or not. If you're in sales, you're often doing some stuff around pipeline management. And a lot of the time, the CEO or COO is even doing some of this work. The challenge is when you get to sort of 1 to 2 million annual revenue is that actually putting that pressure on marketing to do the RevOps or sales to do the RevOps or the founders to do the RevOps is not a good use of resource. In fact, what you need to do is have a separate business function, which is focused on revenue operations. So marketers have more time to market and salespeople have more time to sell. So it's really about giving marketers and sales people back their time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have worked in organizations where marketing was pretty siloed. Sales department was pretty siloed. The sales manager seemed like they were always battling in some way, shape, or form with the director of marketing. But I always found it odd because as a marketer, one of the first things you start with in marketing is research and development, right? You want to know the market that you're marketing to. You want to know, there's an old saying in marketing called, well, the dogs eat it. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you create this cool product, you do your market research, and you come up with this widget, and you're going to market it. And you're always wondering, will the dogs eat it? Will consumers buy it? Will business owners buy it? And so to me, part of that process is engaging with the sales team and understanding what they're hearing, right, from their prospects. Are we missing the mark? Do we have a product nobody wants? Is our product good, but it needs more features? So to me, marketing really should spend a fair amount of time in their processes, working with the sales team and gathering data. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of the ways that revenue operations professionals work as the bridge between them is we'll often go to the marketing team and say, well, what is it that you need to know from sales? How can we better capture that information on that first interview, on the qualification process, on deal close loss? Like, why are we losing deals? And it's very much the responsibility of the RevOps team to enable marketing to get the data that they need so that they can get insights from it to be able to develop better positioning to go to market.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So talk to me a little bit, Natalie, about this concept or this issue with marketing departments and sales departments. Why are they having so much challenges aligning up? Is it egos? Well, what is it?
Oh, it's so many reasons. I think it all starts with the top-down metrics and what people are measured upon. If the C-suite decide that they want to split up marketing-generated pipeline versus sales-generated pipeline, then we're always going to have a competition between marketing and sales.
Yes.
Whereas if perhaps we focused more on the overall revenue generation without there's so much concern on the attribution being one over the other and focused on campaigns that drive growth, then perhaps there would be less so of that. But unfortunately, I can't see that stopping anytime soon. So we need to get the sales team to trust marketing and that the MQLs will be high quality and they will hit the qualification process. One thing I find is that marketers don't genuinely know what makes a good opportunity from a sales rep point of view. Do they understand what the sales methodology is? Is the sales team using MEDDIC or MEDPIC or BANT? Or are they using more of a SPICE methodology? If you as a marketing team don't know how your sales are creating SQLs, how can you ever think that you're going to be able to generate them leads that will turn into SQLs?
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, salespeople, when people get to be a sales manager, it's because they have a lot of history and success in sales, right? And sales managers and sales teams, it's just, I think, the nature of the beast to be very competitive. And, it's that go-getter, go for the jugular pit bull type mentality, I think, that makes good salespeople. Well, historically, in 2024, I feel like if you have a great product, you don't have to sell. And as a marketer, I always felt like, kind of in a weird way, my customer as a director of marketing is the sales department. And my goal is to create a product that is so cool, so good, it solves such awesome problems that it has a high demand. And my goal is to turn my sales teams into order takers.
Yeah, and I think at a price point, that works. So if you're dealing with an annual contract value of under 5K or under 2K, yeah, that's totally possible. I think the challenge becomes if you're in the B2B space and you are selling tickets that are above the 10K, the 100K, the 500K, the expectations from the buyer is that they will have a relationship not only with a salesperson, but with a salesperson that's almost acting as an account manager who will look after them throughout their whole journey through the business. So I think, yes, it would be amazing if every sale could be low touch and we focused on product and marketing being so exceptional that we don't actually have a need for the sales team. However, we know through research that above a certain price point, that's just not going to cut it. You need the sales teams to be able to negotiate contracts, to be able to apply certain levels of discounting, to be able to liaise with the legal teams on both sides. So there is a lot more to selling than I think perhaps. Traditionally, I come from a marketing background. There's a lot of stuff that I did not realize until I moved into the RevOps space.
Well, let me rephrase what I said. I guess my target has always been to turn my sales team into order takers. It kind of sort of at a certain price point never happens. But if I shoot for that as a target, I increasingly make their job easier because clients are calling going, hey, Bob, make sure we're signed up. I don't want to miss this date. I don't want to miss any deals. And you guys have such awesome service and great product. I want to make sure that we're taken care of, I mean, that might be slightly utopian.
That makes complete sense. If as a marketer, you can be driving customers that really only all they need is to feel the touch of a trusted person to close the deal, then that's amazing. It's about bringing somebody who has the budget, the authority, the need, the timing, the critical event to be able to close that. And that's why I say to marketers, it's really critical to understand some of these sales methodologies so you can do exactly what you said and bring qualified people.
On the consumer side, lower end, I mean, nobody really has to sell Apple products. I mean,
unless you've got a business account, so direct to customer, it's quite different. Then you've got one person making the decision. That person holds the budget. They have an emotional need, and they want it now. So you just sell on emotion. Yeah.
Well, and it's like we all know that a Apple Macintosh laptop is just a great piece of technology, and it works great. So there's not a whole lot of selling other than giving, the consumer information so that they can, facilitate the purchase to meet their needs. Obviously, once you get into B2B and you get into, higher price points like 500,000 or they're going to purchase. Salesforce has a little bit of the Apple thing going. I don't want to toot their horn too much only because I have a love-hate relationship with Salesforce, but, their product is, they're the number one CRM. And, it's funny. I run into business all the time. And they're just going, we're going to get a CRM. Yeah, we're looking at Salesforce. And I'm like, you only have 9 users. Why are you looking at Salesforce? And, Salesforce is kind of overkill possibly for what you're trying to do. So I don't know. Salesforce has a little bit of what Apple has to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, but I am not an Apple user. I'm not a Mac user. And also, Android has 70.69% of the market share of
who does
Android as an operating system. So I think we also have to bear in mind that there are global differences. Yes, in the US, there are differences. And yes, I agree that Salesforce in many ways is represented as one of the best CRMs, although depends what you look at. According to G2, HubSpot is now the best overall CRM for business. So I think really the challenge for marketers today is just positioning against your competitors. Like, how do you just one up that competitor? How do you deliver that customer experience or that positioning that is just a little bit better than the next player next to you?
Yeah. All of my SMBs, I push to HubSpot. And so, it just so happens that I'm a Salesforce admin as well as a HubSpot admin. And I run my business on HubSpot. Salesforce is really good for certain businesses, certain sizes, certain, especially B2B type stuff. HubSpot is for the other, what people don't realize, 95%, 96% of all businesses in the US are considered small business. So
in the world,
maybe it's the world.
There's very few businesses that are considered enterprise out there. I mean, FTSE 500 has the number 500 in there for a reason.
Right.
Definitely there's so many more than 500 businesses in the world. So, most of us can operate on quite an uncomplex stack. But I think we all suffer a little bit from shiny object syndrome. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Actually, years ago, I was doing that research and it just really shocked me. I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, what? Like 97% of all businesses? Like I would say probably 80%, this is kind of guessing, 80% of all businesses do less than like $1 million a year.
Yeah. And the majority of businesses worldwide are service-based as well. So I find it quite fascinating that we all have this obsession over product-based businesses when actually they are a very small fraction of the market.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Well, so Natalie, talk to us about the key components of RevOps. How does a company actually implement RevOps, and will it actually deliver like results?
Great. So is this in relation to Charlie's question, or is this just...
No, I was going to get to his in a second.
Great. Sorry. So in terms of revenue operations, you need to think about the following pillars. You've got people. So people are your go-to-market people, generally marketing team, sales team, customer success team, maybe some finance or partnerships, or even product, depending on your go-to-market motion. Next is process. What are the processes that you need marketing to do to be able to generate demand? What are the processes sales need to go through? CS, partnerships, product to enable growth. That's the third pillar. Then we have data. What data is going to enable marketing to market, sales to sell, customer success to do their thing and expand and retain net revenue retention. And what are the data insights overall that we need to unlock to identify where are the biggest areas, or where is the attribution to revenue the best, so we can focus on scaling those areas to generate more revenue at lesser cost to the business. And all of that, the final pillar being technology, is how we leverage technology to enable that, so we don't need to continue to increase our costs by hiring at the same rate as revenue growth. And that is how we achieve scalable revenue growth.
So Charlie, or Charles, I should say, he's got a question. If profitable growth is the goal and sellers often do their own thing, how can RevOps ensure alignment with best practice deal execution? Specifically, how can we track and reinforce that salespeople are following the required actions and behaviors needed to meet exit criteria for each sales stage? I ask because improving sales execution is cost-free, just requires focus, discipline, reinforce accountability, and of course, processes.
Amazing. I love this question, Charles. Thanks for asking this. In fact, this is such a common question. And yes, all of those things that you said, Charles. First of all, having clear entrance and exit criteria for every single stage within your pipeline, and also programming that in. So in both HubSpot and Salesforce and other tools, you can add blockers, or on HubSpot, or verification rules on Salesforce, which means a rep cannot move things from stage to stage unless they complete certain actions. However, we need to bear in mind that that's going to add friction to the process. So what we actually need to do is enable and educate reps to understand that those reps who consistently follow a sales process are 80% more likely to hit their target than those that don't. And what we need to be doing is selling the actual process to the sales team to enable them to achieve their commission. Because let's face it, salespeople love commission. So, there's a mixture of forcing them to add the information so we can collect better data, and also leading and motivating them to believe this change is actually good for their bottom line.
Yes, I found that having processes and cracking the whip and making people follow every minute nuance is not a good thing. Having a process is a good thing, but if salespeople feel like they're locked down and they're in this super tight little bubble, I don't know. I think it takes away from some of their ability to be good salespeople and deliver, good value for their clients.
Yeah, I mean, there is no evidence to suggest that having a process reduces their ability to earn. It is the opposite. There is a lot of research that's been completed by Winning by Design, and Yaakov's research group, if anybody's interested, their research is great, that says the only difference between a average salesperson and a consistently good salesperson is their ability to have a process and follow it consistently.
Well, I agree with the process and I agree with following it. I guess, I've seen sales managers create processes that have way too many details in it, and they lock them down, and then the salespeople are kind of like, man, they're so caught up in following, paragraph B, line 3, and they miss it. They didn't word it correctly or whatever. And then you got a sales manager recording phone calls and listening to people. And I don't know, it sucks a lot of the heart and soul out of selling.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And this is the balance between friction and enablement. So a really good way to think about your RevOps function, which is not free, it does cost money, is that it's very much like an internal product team. So if we take like Apple, for example, Steve Jobs did a very good way of making like all of the Apple products easy for people to use. It didn't limit them. It allowed them to express themselves, but it did it in this very subtle user engagement approach, which guided them to engage in the way in which Apple wants you to engage in. And really, that's what we need to be building into our CRM and sales processes for our sales team, is a way of guiding them down the right path without them feeling trapped into the system.
Yes. So I've been around a long time. And so I started on a PC before Windows. And when I moved to Apple products, a Macintosh, what I felt like was Apple does a really good job of going, okay, Natalie, what do you do every day? I send emails, I run spreadsheets, I go to websites and I do research. Let's say that's what you do. The PC is going, we got thousands of bells and whistles that you can play around with and do exactly what you need, like 1,000 different ways. Apple goes, she needs to mess with spreadsheets, use spreadsheets. She needs to get on the web. She needs to send emails and maybe type a letter and print it out. Just click. You don't have to, worry about if anything is compatible, anything works. It just works. And as I've grown through that Apple ecosystem, I mean, it has its faults without a doubt. Every time I go to a Windows machine, I'm just like, oh God, here we go.
But there was a whole team designing that product. But yet, for some reason, businesses are not seeing the importance of having a team to design your internal CRM product. Why? When we spend so much money investing in our products, why not spend money investing in making our CRMs and processes for our go-to-market teams?
Well, that's why I love HubSpot. I mean, I can't, Pardot, and hey, I'm going to step out on a limb here. Pardot is the worst piece of software that I have ever used in my entire life. I know there's people who use it, and I think the ones that defend it are the ones that kind of have to use it, but I don't have to use it. And I've done that with multiple clients where I'm just like, you need to get some new software. This thing is like garbage.
And for all those Pardot people out there that are really suffering, if you want us to do a rip and replace and help enable you on HubSpot or Salesforce or anything, we are happy to support you with that.
Yes.
You do not have to suffer in silence. You do not have to suffer.
Well, I remember the first time I got on board with HubSpot, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so simple, so straightforward. I mean, it's complicated, but it's intuitive. And when you're thinking like, how do I do this? You're like, let me think, click. Oh yeah, that's how I do it, because they made it, the UI, everything just kind of works. And Salesforce, I mean, you have to be a rocket scientist to implement a Salesforce org.
Oh, I feel great. That's such a compliment. Thank you. I feel like a rocket scientist. No, I mean, we do implement that as well. But, I think the cost of implementation and management is something that a lot of people don't consider when they invest in their technology stack, even to the point of the cost of a consultant on HubSpot versus the cost of a consultant on Salesforce hourly. Like there's a massive difference. So just consider that when you're investing in your technology stack.
Oh, to implement a Salesforce org, yeah, you're in the 275 to 375 an hour range.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
And it takes twice as long to actually build it. So you've got like triple the hour, double the hourly rate and double the time, it's squared.
It's like you're building a house of cards. You got to buy the cards. Then you got to pay someone to build your house out of the cards. And you're always kind of like walking on eggshells because you're afraid if you do one wrong thing, the whole thing's going to come crumbling down.
Yeah.
That's what Salesforce feels like.
Yeah, for sure. But also we're quite happy to, if that's the direction businesses want to move, we're quite happy to support them in that journey.
And so you guys are implementing Salesforce as well as HubSpot, or just one or the other?
Yeah, we are both the Salesforce partner and a HubSpot partner. And in fact, we specialize in the integration between the two. A lot of our clients have both.
Nice.
They use HubSpot for marketing and Salesforce for sales. We work on the integration, support the management of that, support marketing teams with campaign operations or marketing operations, and then support sales teams with sales operations with an overarching revenue operations strategy resource. So it can be, and do a lot of change management. So that's a big part of what we do.
And so of all your customers that you work with, what percentage of them are using Salesforce for sales and also using HubSpot for marketing in the same organization?
Oh, percentage of our customers, I'd say it's at least 50%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that whole front end piece, they're using HubSpot for lead gen and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the migration away from using SalesLoft and Outreach onto using HubSpot for outbound selling as well. So actually the whole outer funnel is managed on HubSpot, and then from SQL onwards, it's managed in Salesforce. We're seeing a lot of that.
Okay, last question, because I know that you're limited on time today. Tell me real quick, give me kind of a real world example of where somebody was and how RevOps kind of helped them. If you can think of it.
Gosh, there's so many. Like, first of all, if you want case studies and business studies, there's tons on our website. But the ones that stand out to me is that we actually helped, strangely, a D2C brand, a fitness brand that operates in the space. I think they've doubled their revenue now since working with us per month, because we've cut out all of the no-shows by improving the information giving to customers before they attend their first sales calls. We're also helping filter out some of the rubbish that's coming through all of their performance marketing. Because I think one thing that we don't often think about in the marketing space is that sales teams are human and have capacity. So we need to be able to prioritize the leads in which they need to be focusing on getting meetings with and making sure those meetings are sat. So we did a lot around filtering out the spam, filtering out the unimproved stuff, which is what ultimately enabled their sales teams to kind of double revenue. Another thing that we've done, which was amazing, was actually a product remodeling, where we actually sat down with both the marketing and sales team and looked at the positioning of the product in the market and identified that we wanted to move from a product-led sales for a service-based business into a subscription service. And we actually helped the business transform from one-off products, where they were doing about 50-50 one-off products and retainers, into a model where they're now functioning at 90% reoccurring revenue versus
nice.
Products.
That's great.
Projects, sorry. So that kind of transformation, because we're working with both marketing and sales, and then we're able to kind of reorchestrate the CPQ system, the quotes, and the way that they can run things from a sales perspective. It's been a remarkable change.
Yeah, that's great. So how many folks on your team?
Right now, there are 20 of us.
20.
We are split across the US, UK, Europe, South Africa, and India. So we kind of cover all time zones. We also break down in departments. So we tend to have a strategy department and a solutions architect department, which does all of the systems integration side. And then a development team that does both back-end development and front-end development for people who want custom coded landing pages, etc., for marketing teams.
That's cool. Very cool. So what's your website?
So if you want to find out more about what we do, you can first of all follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Natalie Furness. I spend most of my time in LinkedIn. Our website, though, for RevOps Automated is www.revopsautomated.com. It's that simple.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're
awesome. Yeah, you got some really cool stuff going. And you are crazy smart. So that's awesome stuff.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Jerry. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and I love talking RevOps. So guys, don't feel like I'm an unapproachable person. Reach out, say hi, let's talk RevOps.
That's awesome. Well, don't go anywhere. I want to chit with you real quick after this. Revenue operations. I keep wanting to say revolution.
Well, it's a revolution.
RevOps is what it's called. Natalie Furness. And I'm saying that right? Furness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. She's with RevOps Automated, and we thank you for coming by today, and thank you for stepping in with us and hanging out and learning some stuff. This is the Jerry Rig Business Marketing Podcast. I am Jerry, and I have a company called Sumo Lab, Total Business Marketing. So check me out on LinkedIn. Until next time.
The Jerry Rigged Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Business technology for CEOs, managers, and business owners. We're here to deliver insights and strategies without the fluff. This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast.